Hey everyone, welcome to Service Matters. I'm your host, Riley Carroll, and today I'm sitting down with Officer Anthony Gamble of the Sacramento Police Department. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
This is cool. It's nice to be able to have a chance to really sit down and talk through a lot of topics and not be rushed and not have certain points that we have to hit. Just
Absolutely.
Things we get to talk about, which is
Yeah.
new. Okay, let's get started. I just want to kind of do a broad overview of SAC PD. So first of all, tell me where we are right now and sort of what the different stations are around the city.
Certainly. So this is our central station, Central East Station. It's 300 Richards Boulevard. And this is where we house our Central Patrol Division, our East Area Patrol, also our Metro Division, so our K9 Air, uncrewed aerial systems, our motors as well. So a lot happens out of this building, but we actually have 3 substations. So we have our North Area Station, our South Area Station. This is our Central East Area Station. We have our headquarters as well, and then we also have a communication center.
Okay, and I'm gonna be asking, if you don't have numbers off the top of your head, it's totally fine. Do you know how many people are a part of Sacramento Police Department?
Yeah, so we're just over 1,000
Wow.
people, and that's sworn and professional staff.
Okay.
So sworn being the officers that wear uniforms, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and then our professional staff are really the lifeblood of the department that keep this place rolling, and then our dispatchers as well. So a little over 1,000.
Okay, and are you hiring right now? Do you have any spots to fill?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we are continuously hiring. As a police department, you know, there's no secret that nationwide there's been a shortage of applicants.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly hiring. You know, just recently, last week, we did the Female Fitness Challenge, which was an initiative that's drawn towards getting women into law enforcement and showing them then that they can do this job and they can pass the physical test and all that good stuff. So we are hiring, and my biggest recommendation would be to tell people, go to joinsacpd.org. You can see all of our, recruitment opportunities there.
And how cool is it? I think people, when they grow up in a city, I think there's a different level of fulfillment that you feel when you're able to serve a city like that. So there's probably so many people that, they don't even consider that they could be a police officer in their own city, but it's totally possible for those who want to do it. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a number of officers in this department that are from Sacramento. There's a number of officers that still live in the city of Sacramento and they serve this community. So it's kind of unique in the sense that you really get to feel like you work in Mayberry, right? You get the small town feel a little bit, even though it's a big city. You're showing up on calls, people, you're out on, just on the beat, you're on patrol, you run into people that you know. So it's kind of a very unique situation.
And how long have you been with SAC PD?
Yeah, so I've been with the department just about 9 years.
Okay, and tell me, go back. Why did you join? And did you always want to be a police officer? What was that like?
So I can take you back to about age 5.
Okay.
And,
wow.
My mom and I were, my family, we're from Sacramento, born and raised, and so I am. My mom's from Ohio. And when I was about 5, we moved to South Sacramento, and there were 2 SAC PD officers who came by my house and just built this relationship with me and my mom. And so I remember, this is 30 years ago. I remember them coming by, turning the lights on in the car. And, they were just doing a couple minutes out of their day, once a week, but that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so I was really infatuated with the radio, the Motorola radios, and so I would always try to grab them. They go, hey, you can't touch it. If you touch it, I get in trouble. Yeah. And I remember for my birthday, they showed up to the house and they bought me 2, toy radios. And they said, hey, your mom's your dispatcher, so when she gets on the radio and tells you to take the trash out, you gotta take the trash out. When she tells you you need to get ready for school, you gotta get ready for school.
That's
just like me, when my dispatcher tells me I gotta go to a call, I gotta go. And so I remembered that, and that really stuck with me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to have those moments now as an officer where you can connect with the community in that way?
Yeah, so a lot more so when I worked in the streets, right? When I worked in operations, you really had an opportunity to connect with the people. Now I'm pretty much in the office a lot of times.
Sure.
So it's different, but I run our youth program for the department. So
that's cool.
I've been doing that for about 4 years. So that's a way for me to be able to connect and give back to the community and really show people that this is something that you can do.
Yeah.
I think in some communities, just across the board, people don't all come from a law enforcement family, myself included, right? And so when you learn some things about law enforcement, you go, oh, maybe this is something that I can do, and this is something that can really allow me to provide for my family and really make a difference in my community. that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, you just mentioned that you had another story where you were sort of influenced at such a young age. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, there was a school resource officer. He was a deputy with the sheriff's office.
Oh, okay.
And his name is Deputy Jeff Wall. I'm sure you're going to see this retired deputy. But he really just took me under his wing, and I was this 14-year-old kid just running around, and he's like, "What do you want to do in life? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself?" And I said, I think maybe I want to practice law and be a lawyer. And he says, like, have you ever thought about law enforcement? I was like, nope, never did, never thought about it. It wasn't in my family. It wasn't in, I didn't come from it. And so, he said you can really make a difference. You can impact the community in a great way, and you can go to law school as an officer too, right? And
Absolutely.
so he was instrumental in getting me in the Sheriff's Explorer program when I was like 14 or 15 years old. And so that just really catapulted me to get into where I ultimately ended up.
That's so awesome. And as much of an impact as it had on you, I bet it also has an impact on him, and he remembers those things, being able to like have those community connections in that way.
Yeah.
So
we still talk to this day.
Oh,
We're
do you
really close. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
It's super cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask then, when we're talking about being a law enforcement officer, obviously so much of what we see on the news, so much of what you encounter on a daily basis, not all of it is fun. A lot of it is not fun, to be honest, or a lot of it is hard. So I want to talk about some of the most rewarding parts of the job, but also some of the hardest. But let's start with the rewarding. What are some things that really matter to you in being in law enforcement?
That's a great question. So when I reflect back at my time working in operations, and then as I mentor people that come into the department, like I really think about the fact that people dial 911, 3 numbers, right? And it's typically on the worst day of their life and whatever they're going through. And to be the person that shows up when you dial 911, to me, was such a noble and awesome thing. And it wasn't just me. I worked with such amazing officers, and I had some really great sergeants that helped mentor me. And so it was really awesome just to look at these people, to go, all these people that are from different walks of life, we're all here for this common goal. And that's to help protect the city and keep the city safe, and kind of be that lifeline when people need help. Really, really awesome opportunity.
Yeah, it's so unique. It is such a unique position to be in, because in almost no other job are you being put in touch with people on the worst day of their life, when they're in the most, it's such a unique position to be in. And there's just a lot that goes into it. So what about some of the hardest things? Like, what are the biggest challenges in law enforcement?
I think, first and foremost, I think going into law enforcement can be very daunting, right? Like making the decision, okay, I want to be in law enforcement, can be overwhelming, because you're going to start opening up your life to a background investigator that's going to go step by step, because we're looking for people that are good people, to take these ranks in these departments. And so that can be overwhelming in itself. Once you get past that, I think one of the hard things, once you get through the academy, which the academy is itself, we can talk about that, is you end up doing shift work. And so now you might be working graveyard or day shift or swing shift. You might be working weekends. You might be working holidays, so you miss a lot of things that you probably don't intend. When you're getting into this process. You're not thinking
about the Christmases that you're going to miss and all that.
And so,
that's a good point.
Those things can be challenging, but you just find a way to navigate, and you move around that and go, hey family, we're doing Christmas on Friday instead of Sunday this year. And so you make it work. What's unique about SAC PD too is we have a holiday draw. So every year, if you're working on a holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, you get to put your name in a draw. So if you're working, you actually, and your name is picked, you get the day off.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And going back to really, I'm going to brag about SAC PD a little bit, but I remember when I worked patrol, and it was 4th of July, and it was my son's first 4th of July, and the sergeant and lieutenants, they're like, hey, you have your family come by, by the station. And so I got to spend some time with, with them that I wouldn't be able to if I didn't even work in the community where I lived. And so that was really unique.
That's so cool. I want to ask about that, because when you mention that the holidays and all of that, it's not something that you think about. And even more so, it's probably not something that your families think about until
Yeah.
you're in the middle of it and it's
Yeah.
happening to them. So
Yeah.
it's a sacrifice for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
just talk about that. Like what's your advice to families or
Yeah.
how do you navigate that? That's so tough.
Yeah, I got to say, like, selfishly, I'm the one that was always missing things, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
so I don't have law enforcement family members
Sure.
yet.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
one day. But so I was always the one that missed things. But what I can say is, you know, obviously, if you have a loved one that's getting into law enforcement or considering it, just
Yeah.
understand that there is a sacrifice, and there's always ways to move around things, right? Christmas might be on a Wednesday, and you might have to celebrate it on Thursday.
Yep.
Or, you know, maybe you're opening up gifts in the evening instead of the morning because
Yeah.
your loved ones, you know, getting off in the morning, things
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
there's ways to work around it. It just takes a lot of understanding and communication, you know, amongst each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Sort of a personal question. It was so cool, that story with your son
Yeah.
and the 4th of July. How do you talk about your job to your son, and how do you
Yeah.
explain it? Does he ask questions? Like how have you had those
Yeah.
conversations?
So my son is like really involved in my career. Like he's just so he's at the age where he's infatuated with what I do.
So
Even though I don't do like the fun
Yeah,
police
yeah,
work
no, you
anymore.
still do.
But you know, he's so infatuated with it, and he always has questions, and he's at the age where, you know, I want to be a police officer when I grow up. And so, you know, you give him little tidbits and nuggets and stuff. I bring him any chance I get. I bring him to work. You know, if we're doing an event or a community event, I try to bring him just so he can see the culture around here, which is, you know, really unique. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that at that age they're just sponges, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to pick up on everything. And you know, he'll be 8 years old next week. So really just trying to get him to understand, like, this is what dad does, and you know, dad's here to help people and stuff, because you have to also understand that there may be people in officers' kids' lives, right? Whether it's a teacher or a friend's family member who has a different perception of law enforcement.
Yeah.
And so you don't want them to just be influenced on the outside. You want there to be some internal influence as well, to say, hey, this is what dad does, or this is what mom does.
Yep.
And you know, this is what the job, you know, really looks like.
Would you be excited if your son did end up becoming a police officer? Would that be cool?
I would be. I'll say this: I don't push it, but if he said, "Dad, I want to be a police officer," I would support him. Through the process, because it is a daunting process.
It's daunting, and you know, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, you kind of know the whole scope of what it entails, and that's hard as a parent, I'm sure, to think about some of the things that you've been through and thinking like, man, you'd be proud, but that would be hard. That would be a little scary, because you know.
And I think too, what's unique is, you know, I think each individual officer understands the risk, right? When you go to work every day, you understand that there's a risk that's involved, whether it's, I mean, whatever it is, you understand there's a risk. I have to imagine that it takes a different form if your loved one is in that position, right? Your kid is in that position, pushing a car, handling calls for service. That it just adds a little different flavor to it. So I'm hoping he goes to the Major League Baseball, so that way Dad can retire at some point. But I mean, I would support him 100% if he wanted to do this profession. I think it's really noble, and I believe in it. I think it's a really good
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So speaking of your profession and your career, I want to talk about kind of your trajectory, where you started, and then we'll kind of get into what you do now with the Public Information Office. So tell me about how you started.
Yeah, so when I started just like everybody, pretty much everybody else in the organization. I was not a lateral. I came straight into the SAC PD's academy. I graduated the academy, and then I went into field training. So I was in field training. After field training, I was a South Area officer. It was where I lived and where I grew up, so that was unique. It was really cool to have that experience, and I got to work with some amazing people, like I said, that just really, really care about people. You know, it's rare to come into any organization or really any facet of life and see so many people that just care about people, and I experienced that when I came, you know, when I started working in South Sac with the partners that I worked with. From there, I went downtown for about 2 years. I worked downtown for 2 years, and then I went back to South Sacramento, where I started, where I cut my teeth. From there, I went to motors. So I was a motorcycle officer for about 2 years, or 2 and some change, which was, I would say, probably the best job in law enforcement.
That's so cool.
There's a saying that, you know, there's 2 types of motorcycle officers: cops that happen to ride motorcycles, or motorcycle riders that happen to be cops. Right? I love riding, so to be able to be paid to ride a motorcycle for 40 hours a week was really awesome.
Do you still ride a motorcycle, like, for fun?
Of course,
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, very cool.
And that's what's so unique about law enforcement. And I can speak about SAC PD, but I know law enforcement in general is there's not a lot of professions where you can get into and then at the drop of a dime after a couple of years go do something totally different in that same field, right? Like for SAC PD, you can wake up and go, I want to be a motorcycle officer, and take the test and go through the training and be I can go, I want to be a helicopter pilot.
Yes.
Never in my life did I ever think about that.
Yeah.
I tried it, and I realized that I have some motion sickness up there in a helicopter, so that didn't work out. Or I want to be a canine handler, and I love dogs, and I want to have a dog with me every day. So it's just such a unique thing. I know that SAC PD, other agencies too, but just bragging about SAC PD that we offer that you can really just do so much in this wide range of law enforcement.
Yeah, and I feel like speaking to that, it can sort of grow with you through different phases of life, because maybe you're on a motorcycle for the first couple years, but then maybe you have kids, and then maybe your partner's like, hey, you're not riding a motorcycle anymore. This job is dangerous enough. Like, we need to get you off or whatever.
Exactly.
So I feel like you can grow with it and change, which is very cool. Okay, so keep going. So you were on the motorcycle for a couple years.
Yeah, I was on the motorcycle
What was that like? What did you do? Like, what was the day like? That's so cool.
Well, there's a saying in motors that, we keep things here to close to the chest, right?
Sure. Right. Yeah. I'll see myself out.
I'm just kidding. I'll tell you. So the day, motors was unique because we get pulled in so many different facets, right? If there's a dignitary that's coming to Sacramento, our day may be doing traffic, doing escorts for a dignitary, right? Generally, the function of a motorcycle officer is to do traffic enforcement, right? Okay. To keep our motorist population safe. So looking for people that are speeding, talking on their phone while driving, running red light stop signs, things like that. There's no secret that we have a problem across our state with these little things that we have in our hands driving down the street, and it's a major distraction. And so as a motorcycle officer, you really got to help impact and kind of shape the way that traffic behavior happened in a certain area.
Totally.
You get a couple motorcycle officers out there. Now, not every stop turned into a ticket. Our department, our mission was really heavily focused on kind of this three-prong approach, right? You have education, enforcement, and engineering, right? So if I stop you, is there an educational component that I can leave you with to hopefully change that driving behavior? It might be a ticket, right? It might be enforcement.
Right.
Or maybe it's an engineering component. Maybe you didn't see the stop sign because a tree is blocking that stop sign. And I go back and look and see that a tree is blocking it. And now I'm calling city engineering to say, hey, we need to get this tree trimmed.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Really community oriented, but with the focus being on keeping our motoring population safe.
Is the majority, looking back just anecdotally, are the majority of tickets, if you did write one, is it for speeding or cell phones, or what are you doing most of the time?
That's a great question. I don't remember what my, and we would have, so we try to be very responsive to our community. So if you lived in a pocket of the city and you said, hey, there's a lot of people running stop signs on this street, we may go to that area and do enforcement in the area looking for stop sign violations. So it really just depended on where we were and what our mission was that specific day. But I can tell you, you start the day, we get take home bikes, so you would start the day.
You ride into work?
Yeah, you ride in.
That's cool.
And my partner, we were both the South Sac Motors. We'd go down to our area and we would just really look to see where are the issues at, where we had a lot of complaints, where we had a lot of bad crashes. Sure. And we kind of, work that into our day.
Smart.
And really, it was just like, it was free, right? You're just out there, you're in the sun and sometimes in the rain, but it was good. That's fun.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so eventually you've sort of made your way into this public information officer role. So Certainly. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was asked to do it when I was pretty new on the motorcycle, and there were some things I wanted to do and accomplish as a motorcycle officer. So I pushed it back a little bit, and then I was asked again to come, and that's when I made the move. It was in end of 2022, going into 2023.
Okay.
And that's been a very unique position because I don't come from a world of public speaking.
Sure.
I don't have a degree in it. I don't have a degree in communications. I just have the experience of just talking to people as a police officer, right?
Totally.
And in previous jobs that I had before. But so that was unique. It was challenging. It pushed me out of my comfort zone because I got so comfortable being on the motorcycle and doing those things.
Yep.
But yeah, we. Coming over, it's a small team. You have 2 officers and a sergeant.
Yep.
And you are controlling the media for a major metropolitan police department.
Yeah, it is. I feel for you, because coming from the reporter side, just seeing how many questions you are bombarded with on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, it's pretty impressive that you can manage all of it and respond to all of it. So sort of starting on like the macro level, why is it important for Sacramento Police to have a dedicated team to this sort of like media community communication?
Yeah, I mean that question is so multi-layered, right? I mean, first and foremost, we want our community to be informed. We are a transparent police department, and so we want to make sure that we're responsive to our community and to our media partners when they're asking for information. Also, we want to be able to be accessible as a police department, right? We don't want there to be this wall where it's like, I don't really know how to get in touch with the police department if I have a question. If I'm the media and I have a question about an arrest, we really want to have and foster that environment where we are responsive, and there might be some time constraints, or there might be some legal considerations that come into play when releasing information, but that's really a goal of this police department, is to just be a responsive police department in all facets, and that includes in transparency.
Yeah, the transparency part is really interesting, because I think that obviously that is so important, but also that's not always easy. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of hoops you have to jump through, or even sometimes, you know, if something isn't necessarily the most flattering information, but you have to share it, you have to talk about it, or you're faced with questions. So how do you navigate that? Is that ever difficult for you, or you know, how do you navigate that?
So I think the best advice I got was from a former PIO from years prior, and he, you know, what he told me when I was stepping into this role was, remember, you didn't do it, you're just telling the story. And that really helps you understand that, hey, listen, I'm just here to explain what happened, whatever that something is, right? It could be a car crash, could be a break-in, could be a burglary, could be, you know, anything. And so just remembering that, hey, I'm here to just inform the community objectively what happened based on the information that we have at that time. It really puts things in perspective.
Is it ever hard? So I'm thinking like when I'm at a breaking news scene and there's maybe like a crash or something, and we're waiting on information. Is it ever hard when you get to the scene and you're getting briefed and you're trying to keep the facts straight, but maybe you were at a different crash the night before and like you're remembering street names and times and how many people were involved? Like, how do you get your brain to get all your facts straight?
That's a good. So I think the brain, you know, as you know, I'm sure in your world, the brain's a muscle, and so it's just training it to understand that you may have to manage 3, 4, 5 different incidents at once, which we're in a group text together with all the media. You can see that there's 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 things happening at once. And it's just being deliberate in your information, knowing where you are, what you're talking about, and what information you're going to release at that time really helps you. And it came with practice and training. So when I was new, I wasn't as sharp as I am now, and that's just like with anything else. You work a muscle out, it's going to get stronger. And so having a good team around you too helps you. And so, you know, my partner Allison Smith, she's phenomenal at what she does.
She's
and
awesome.
you know, if I'm prime as the PIO officer, if I'm prime and we have a couple different scenes pop up, she may jump in and go, hey, I'll take this last one for you, you handle those other 2, and vice versa, right? So it's just having a good working relationship with the people that you work around, trusting each other, and then also not being afraid to critique each other too, right? To say, hey, like this, you know, what do you think I could have done better, and vice versa. What do you this is what I think you could have done better as well. And so those things really help you. And then also, I would say it's part of life, failing forward, right? You make that first mistake of putting the wrong time or the wrong date for the wrong incident, right? And then you go, oh, I never want to feel that again. I never want to experience that again. And so it really, because it's happening so fast, you go, okay, this can't happen again. And so you're very, very diligent on when you're releasing information.
I just have to say, I mean, I have to give you guys credit where credit is due, because not only is your PIO team so responsive and accurate and transparent, you guys are so friendly and nice. And I feel so bad, because sometimes I know you guys are like probably like in the middle of your sleep, and then you're getting up and you're running out to a scene and you're like, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and I'm getting information, and then you're still like happy and positive. And honestly, I just think that that's another layer that I don't think people think about with this job, is that, you know, it's all of that, and then you have to go on camera, and then you have to talk to people in the middle of the night, and you have to maybe deal with reporters who are not the most friendly or whatever. You know, I mean, it's like there's this emotional labor of it as well that I feel like people sort of overlook.
What's unique is, and I'll kind of throw it right back at you, is you know, we have a really good working relationship with our media partners here in Sacramento, and even when they need to call us on something, right? They do typically, I would say, in a fair fashion, and we can have an honest conversation and you know, have that back and forth dialogue. So that makes it easy. What's unique about this role is, you know, when you're a street cop, right? You work in the streets. You only see a very small portion of the violence or the crime that's happening because it has to happen in your district when you're working on your shift, right? But as the spokesman for a police department or a sheriff's department, you're generally going out on everything, right? So homicides, your fatal crashes, your DUI crashes, you're exposed to all those things. So those factors really kind of go into the psyche of what you're doing. So it's just remembering why you're doing what you're doing, what your mission is. Your mission is to provide the community with information, especially if there's a crisis, right? We want to be responsive, get information out quickly. If there's a road closure, we want to make sure our community is aware. And then it's just being human, being a person, right? And that's one thing I would say is really great about the team that I work with. We're just people, right? Nothing special. We're just we're regular people that have a job to do. And then we work with some really great media partners that kind of have that same approach to things. That, hey, we're just people.
Yeah, I think one other thing I want to ask about this PIO role specifically is, you talk about sort of that trust and that relationship that you have with your media partners. I mean, presumably you also have to build so much trust with your own department, because you're sort of tasked with being the face, and you're tasked, you have a lot of, what's the word? Is it like, not, responsibility, but like latitude, like you're going on TV and you could say, you know, I mean, you can't say whatever you want, but you kind of know what I'm saying. Like, you have so much responsibility, and the people in charge have to put so much trust in you to be able to, you know that you're going to go out and tell the truth and tell what's accurate, you know, and kind of like put on a good impression too for the department.
That's a really good point. And you know, the one thing that you learn when you go to PIO school is you, like, a good PIO and the chief are very kind of in step with each other, right? And so as the chief of police, right, for us, you know, Chief Kathy Lester, she is the head of this organization. She runs this police department. And so as her PIO, I'm an extension of her voice, and so I have to make sure that I am, you know, I'm providing information in a timely fashion to the community, but also I have to represent her as well, right? As my chief of police, and so having that good relationship, I think, is very crucial and critical. If you have a PIO and I'm not in the same wavelength as my chief of police, you can see some issues arise, and we've seen issues arise around the country in different jurisdictions. But fortunately, I will say, like, you know, our chief of police, you know, puts a lot of trust in her PIOs. I like to think we weren't picked for no reason.
Of course,
we're a good representation of the department, and you know, you just every day you try to go out and make your bosses proud, but also make the members of this organization proud. I think is really important too, because we are also an extension of their voices, right? We're an extension of their hard work. You know, I talk about this often. You know, when a homicide suspect is arrested, very rarely did he just go turn himself in. That came from great police work on the ground from the start. Detectives that are so dedicated to what they do, they come out, they're diligent. Our CSI that come out and, you know, process the scenes. And so, and you know, our apprehension teams that go out and look for the suspects that, you know, cause, you know, havoc in our communities. And so that's unique. That's having the opportunity to really speak for them, because they're not going to come out and talk about all the good work that they do, right? Cops are pretty modest people, Like, they're not
also like busy. They're like, what are we gonna do?
You know, so being able to come out and like be like, hey, no, this is what our officers did is really, really, really cool.
I think that's so cool. I also think that it just helps. I mean, you didn't really, like, you were saying it sort of at the beginning, touched on how, you know, departments across the country are recruiting officers, and there's less. And I think that it's all, you know, you can't point to one particular reason, but definitely I think that putting not even positive messages, just truthful messages
Yeah.
about, you know, what
Yeah.
what officers are doing, and giving them kudos and being
Yeah.
able to be a voice for them, because you're right, they're not going to go out and, you know, come to the news and say, I'd like to talk about this thing I did or whatever,
right.
but you can sort of be that voice for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very, very cool. So I like that.
And one thing that we're doing too as a department, we've kind of grown our public information office pretty significantly over the last couple of years. So right now it's myself, Officer Allison Smith, who are the PIO officers. We have Sergeant Dan Wiseman, who's a great champion for us.
Yep.
He's our boss. We also have our communications manager, who's Amber Heinlein. She kind of deals with all the behind the scenes stuff, kind of the strategic communication.
Sure.
And we have 2 videographers in this department that we call them the Mats, right? Mat
okay.
1 and Mat 2. And they are so great. I mean, the stuff that they do, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't come from a media background,
Sure.
so I'm not good with video editing or putting content together.
Yep.
The stuff that they do is just out of this world, and we're actually launching a couple different YouTube series. So one is going to be in the line of duty,
Okay.
and so it's going to highlight some stories, some great work that, you know, the men and women of this department are doing. We're also going to have a Why We Serve series, and then there's another one that's going to be like a ride-along style
That's
series.
so cool. People love that stuff.
We're trying to be innovative and
Yeah.
creative, and we understand the community wants to see the things that we do, and
Totally.
so really kind of forward-thinking by our Mats that are in our department.
That's
that
awesome.
you know, again, I hope they see this, but they do a phenomenal job at really capturing the moment.
Yep.
I can talk about it
Yep.
all day, but they capture it.
Totally.
Right? So that's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to ask you a few. We'll wrap it up, but I just want to ask you a few like kind of freestyle-y questions.
All right.
They're not necessarily rapid fire, so
Okay.
you know you don't have to be like quick answers.
All right.
But I just think that these would be fun for people to know. I surveyed some people and I said, if you could ask a police officer
Okay.
like some of these questions,
All right.
these are some that they
All right.
came up with. Okay.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite hobby outside of work?
Ooh, I love coaching my son.
Oh, that's
but
sweet.
then I would say golf. I'm not good at it, but it's
good.
great.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your best law enforcement memory, or like the coolest memory, or just like something where you're like, that's kind of badass, like that was cool? We can say that because we're on streaming and we're not on the news, so no worries there.
I would say the coolest experience for me kind of came in the form as a PIO. So when I came over, unfortunately we had a homicide, Najee Grimes, Greg
yep.
Najee Grimes. He was
Yep.
killed downtown a few years ago. His murder was unsolved, but we knew who the suspect was. And so myself and my team at the time, we had the opportunity to pitch the story to America's Most Wanted when they came back on air.
Oh, yeah.
It got picked up.
Oh, wow.
They aired the show, and you know we had the opportunity to highlight the family.
Yes,
I got really
yes.
close with the family, which is
Yes.
you know
His mom is still a big
yeah,
advocate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, beautiful family.
Yeah.
I mean, and the strength that they exhibit. The detectives did a phenomenal job with this case, and because of America's Most Wanted, the suspect Taji Michael was located in South Carolina.
Wow.
Very shortly after the show aired.
That's
so he was
incredible.
extradited back. Great partnership with our federal partners who took him into custody. You know, we brought him back, and he was just convicted of murder, and he was sentenced
Wow.
to 25 years of life for the crime. So
Wow.
not a good thing, but,
No, but
not a positive
yeah.
you know thing. But
It's hugely impactful.
It was amazing to just kind of see all the pieces come together and
Yeah.
bring justice for the Grimes family, like you said, who are still champions in this. You know,
Yes.
I know Deborah. She does the Stop the Bleed training and all
Yep.
that stuff. It's just really,
Yep.
really impactful in the community.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah, I would say that's my
Yeah, that's definitely a good
that's the
one.
highlight of my career for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite restaurant in Sacramento?
I like a classic Italian restaurant called Olive Garden. No, I'm just kidding.
That hole in the wall.
I wear a tuxedo when I go there. No, there's a taco truck off of Sutterville and Southland Park called
Okay.
Canimo.
Oh, okay.
And I go there as much as I can. Like
Okay.
it's right down the street from my office. So amazing tacos or brisket tacos are delicious.
Yum. Okay, I might have to
Yeah.
go there after this. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, Do you ever listen when you were on a motorcycle? I don't know if you can even listen to music on a motorcycle. Did you ever listen to music on patrol? And if so, what could you listen to?
Great question. So I'm going to break this down.
Okay.
Boom. Okay. When I first started, we had the Crown Vics.
Okay.
And there were no music radios in the cars because the speakers were occupied by the police radio.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So what we would do is we'd bring a little Bluetooth speaker, kind of, you listen to some music, right?
Yeah.
Then when we moved to the Explorers, they do have the music radios because the police speaker is up in the ceiling.
Okay.
Right? And then a little secret here. This is inside baseball here.
Good.
All right. As a motor, I could listen to music because I had 2 sets of speakers embedded in my helmet. So I had my police radio, and then I had one that I connect to my phone.
Oh, that's
so I would
awesome.
listen to,
That's
I mean,
good.
so what I would listen to.
What do you like to listen to? What gets you in the?
I'm eclectic, so it depends on the mood.
Okay.
You might hear a local Sacramento rapper to Mozart.
Oh wow.
To George Benson, some smooth jazz.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of like Motown. My mom grew up in the Motown era, so I'm heavy emphasis on like Motown, Temptations, the Jackson.
Oh, that's awesome.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
Yeah, I mean a wide eclectic range of music.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very cool. Okay. How do you use the restroom in the middle of a shift? Like, where do you go? Do you go to a gas station? Like, what happens?
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to. I was going to say catheter. No,
right, exactly.
So that's a good question. Yeah, so, the big thing is really just finding somewhere clean that you can go. So it might be a police station if you're close to it, or a restaurant, things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to be creative because it's the middle of the night, and you got to, drive all the way to the closest police station that might not be close to you, but you find a way to make it work.
Okay, kind of along the same lines, where do you get gas, like on a shift?
So all of our cars run on love, and so no gas needed. No, I'm just kidding.
Just love, hard work, and dedication keeps the cars running.
Service, protection, dedication, there it is. So each of our stations has their own gas pump. So down that way, there's gas pumps over there.
Okay.
And then there's city corp yards. So you can go in there, and all of our key fobs that we use gets us access to the gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So
you're never going to be like filling up at a Shell on the side of the road or anything like that.
Generally, no.
Okay,
I mean, maybe there might be a circumstance where that happens, but generally we just fill up at the station. So the culture in the department here is, you generally fill up before you hit the street. So you get out a roll call.
Yep.
Get in your car. Inspect it, make sure it's good to go, service ready, and then you fill up your tank, and then that tank will typically last you the duration of your shift.
The whole shift?
Yeah.
Do you bring snacks along with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, what kind of snacks are you bringing?
That's a good, for me, what I would bring, and my partner, we would, difference of opinion on this.
Yeah.
I just rated whatever was in my son's pantry, and so it might be some fruit snacks, it might be some goldfish, just whatever I can get my hands on that day. My partner, Officer Gordon, he was, he was a little more healthy.
One of those
salads and stuff like that. But you just find a way to be kind of creative, and you understand, especially working in operations, in patrol, that you could end up on a call and on a perimeter or a crash scene, and you're holding that for a couple hours. So
totally.
A good officer always has some snacks, some ibuprofen, and definitely some water.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
okay, very, very good. Okay, if you weren't a police officer, what job would you have?
I would work. If I wasn't a police officer, I would probably be a lawyer.
Okay.
I would like to practice law. Maybe later in life.
You could go back.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
We'll see. Yeah, that or an astronaut. No, I'm just kidding.
And I'd operate a spaceship.
Yeah. One of the two.
Okay, that's good. Okay, this is funny because I guess like right before you came here, I don't want to out you, but you have forgotten your shirt, so you have to go back home and get it. Okay, so my last question is, how many uniforms do you have? And that's my question.
I couldn't even be able to tell you. I probably have. I mean, just because over time, you buy new. So you buy new uniforms, and we'll say service ready.
Is this a service?
Service ready. Like I could throw a vest on under this and go and patrol and put a duty belt on and go on patrol.
Okay.
Service ready uniforms, I probably have about 6 or 7.
Okay. You just like rotate those in the laundry. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And then I was a motor for, like I said, a couple years, and so SAC PD wears navy blue, dark blue, but our motor officers wear black, so I have a lot of black uniforms as well.
Okay,
so,
very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, is there anything else that you want to say, or
I have
anything
one
you need to share?
question.
Oh, Dave has a question.
Ginger or Marianne?
Oh, give me context here.
Oh yeah,
Come on, Gilligan's Island.
Oh.
I know it's way before your
Yeah.
time.
Gilligan's Island.
Whoa.
Wait,
time.
my
I know,
answer
but-
is Ginger.
Yeah, I would say.
I know Gilligan's Island. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ginger and Marianne. Okay, my answer is
That
Ginger.
was like a question that was always asked when you do like these fun.
Yeah.
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 Marianne.
Yeah,
Ginger or Marianne?
Marianne.
I'll defer to my partner here and
Dave,
say
okay, yeah,
Ginger.
Dave saying Marianne. I'm saying Ginger. I do
All
know
right.
Gilligan's Island. That's good,
I'll have to do
Dave.
some research.
That's good. That's
Sorry,
good.
Dad.
Yeah.
That's all good. That's all good.
No,
I
that's
can
what
name
it's
I
about.
can name all the Golden Girls though if you really wanted me to.
Oh, that's good.
It's a little
That's
hidden
good.
talent.
I got into that show.
Rose,
I liked
Dorothy.
It, 'cause it was so funny.
It's
Yeah.
so funny.
It was one of the funniest sitcoms on TV.
Yeah.
Have you seen though, like those memes and stuff that says like the Golden Girls were like 50 or 55?
They were like 40s.
They were like
and
in their
yeah,
40s and
yeah,
50s,
yeah.
and they
So
look so old to us now.
the mom Sophia,
Yeah.
I think was actually the youngest out of all of them.
Oh, no
yeah,
way.
They just doctored
Okay.
her up. Yeah, make it.
That's why we have Botox, so
That's
we don't be looking 60 when we're 40. That's good. Little
That's
secret
right.
for you guys.
That's right.
Okay, Officer Gamble, thank you so
No,
much.
absolutely.
That was so much fun.
Thank you. I know
we
I had a
appreciate
blast.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for watching this episode of Service Matters. Hope you learned a little bit more about the Sacramento Police Department and Officer Anthony Gamble. We'll see you next time.